evening, everybody, and welcome along to PSGL Season 27. This is the F2 tier, and we're at round number 2 of the Championship. Tonight, we go to the home of British Motorsport in Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. My name is Jess, and joining me, as per usual, we have got Dan. Hello, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great tonight, Jess. Good evening, everyone. Cannot wait for this Grand Prix at, of course, the first ever Grand Prix that was ever taken place back in 1950. Of course, Silverstone used to be an RAF airstrip, and since then it has been revitalised to be the beautiful racetrack we know today. Last season, we came here. I believe Rafa won that one on his tear, where he won about 4 races in a row. And there was a lot of last lap drama, if I'm not mistaken, by one man who's been promoted tonight, Shazoo name changer. He's been brought up from F3 into F2, and he got a puncture on the last lap of the Grand Prix, as did Pablo Jogler. Hopefully we're not going to see too many punctures here today, though.
Hopefully we won't. We also saw punches in real life as well, where we saw Valtteri Bottas got a puncher. He had to pit, which he didn't score many points that day. Lewis Hamilton miraculously got his car over to take the win in that race as well, so that was intriguing as well. But anyway, looking at the standings from last week, we saw Lee Finley take the win last week due to him being very, very clean compared to his rivals as well. He did get a penalty though, but it was more than enough to secure in the top step of the championship. And we got Michi in second on 12 points. Will getting third place. I need to check the stewards on that one, because on the stream it was Luca that got third place. So we will go through the penalties in a second. Hadler in 5th. Benjamin 6th. Table Clan finished in 7th last week. Then we had the 2 Ferrari boys of Lamp F1 and Caden Forbes in 8th and 9th. And CC Bain is your last point scorer. And it was very impressive to see the top 3 really doing their thing last week, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. The top 2, of course, Lee Finley and Misha, pretty much ran away with that Grand Prix, and Lee Finley came out on top of that one. But really, the one that was impressive to me was Will last week. He came out in full force. He used the alternate strategy to his advantage. I believe he finished 5th, but he got 3rd on track, and he actually got a 5-second time penalty removed after contact was with an AI car. So that wasn't too nice for him. Luckily, he has had that rectified, and now he is on that podium in 3rd place in the championship. He had a really good season last time out, so maybe he could be one to challenge for the championship.
Yeah, quite a lot of early favourites, but I think it's too early to tell yet on who's going to be the favourite until possibly around about the 4th race, maybe, potentially. But you never know, that people could make mistakes, and we could see someone that could do a rough run, win quite a few races this season, but you'll never know. But the constructors, Renault, due to Lee's win, is leading the championship. Kazooie didn't score, but that was still enough for Renault to take the top spot, with Racing Point in 2nd, Williams in 3rd, Red Bull 4th, McLaren 5th, Ferrari 6th, AlphaTauri in 7th, Alfa Romeo 8th, Mercedes 9th, and Haas the only team yet to score points in this championship. It's still early days, and anything can happen. And before we head to the qualifying session, we'll take a little look at the track for today. There's quite a lot of DRS zones. It is approximately 153 kilometers worth of racing. 18 turns, 8 to the left, 10 to the right. There are 2 DRS zones for overtaking, 1 after turn 5 and 1 at the hangar straight heading into Stowe. And there's a lot of corners to watch out for tonight: cops, maggots and backett section, and much more. We've got a few lap times already on the board, so let's head straight to qualifying. And Luca is setting the benchmark at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. 123.9 is a decent enough lap for him, and considering he had only turned off the line about 2 weeks ago, he's doing really well for himself. But other drivers crossing the line, they can't contest with him, even though the field spread at the moment is about 4/10, so they are very compacted together, and they're just getting closer and closer. You can see Simo and Mish, and there's Ballina going to the top by only about 300ths of a second ahead of Luca, so they are all getting very close in this fight at the moment. Manolo is tailing the field at the moment, as I'm trying to find if anyone else is towards the end of a lap. I believe there's a Williams car towards the end of the run. That's Tomato. He didn't have a good race last time. He ends up 3rd on the grid, make that 4th because his Shazoo teammate Name Changer slots it in 3rd position. A great debut for him in season 27 so far.
I was watching the F3 race last week in Australia, of course, and Name Changer pulled up a very good performance, and he was having a nice battle with M Short as well. It almost came to an end there as well when they made contact, but still Name Changer was able to get a podium there, which was very, very impressive. And that is why that if you prove that you can get good results in a lower tier, then Big C could be a nice person and move you up. So that's what Name Changer's done. He was in F2 last season, and he's back again with a vengeance, and I think he will probably improve with his motivation, that he deserves the trip up as well, and I think he's doing very well in 4th place. Benjamin, though, 3rd place at the moment with a 1:24.0. Just benchmark times at the moment, I think pole time I would expect to be 1:23.5s, 1:23.4s, I think, potentially as well. Maybe 1:23.5s. I think that's what I've seen a few people do on their practice runs. But yeah, only time will tell. There's a lot of drivers that are close at the moment. There's quite a few drivers, including our race winner from last week, that has invalidated their lap time. Greeny LFC is also on the lap as well, going towards Stowe Corner as well. No slipstream is allowed, don't forget, from your teammates, so it's going to rely all on yourself, as it's quite sunny here in Silverstone. Luckily at the moment, things may change coming towards the race, because you never know. Silverstone is known for its wet weather, as Greeny comes across the line, and that puts him in at P16 at the moment with a 1:24.3 at the moment, with 3 people yet to set a lap time. Like we said, Will G is also known as Lamp, can't make it tonight, so Speedster is filling in again in the Ferrari this time. It's good to have him back after he was very close to the points last week, and I wonder if he can get close to the points this week as well. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe he ended up in 11th right at the end of the race. We had him in it for an interview, and he was not happy with the Mercedes driver in 14th, CC Brain. There was a bit of contact between the two of them, and that pretty much ruined Speedster's race. He was on the alternate strategy, and he was a lot quicker, but of course, you can't just expect someone to let you by. So here, frustrations were taken out there. I'm not too sure if a penalty was given or not. There's nothing in the Discord server. One driver just started a lap. He's quite an impressive one. Caden Forbes coming through turn number 1. He's looked really clean so far, and he's got a car just in front of him of Kazooie. Hopefully he can move out of the way of the prancing horse, the Ferrari driver, as soon as possible. He might try and take a slipstream off of the German here. You can see him, no, he's actually just going to pull straight to the right hand side, and there's Kazooie getting out of his way. Really good to see, but crossing the first sector split, that is a 26.9. Quite impressive, if I do say so myself. He's looking really strong on this run so far, is Caden Forbes.
Quite a lot of drivers like this track, quite a lot of drivers hate this track. It's kind of like a 50-50 scenario. You either love it or you hate it, but it looks like from Caden's run, as he goes towards Cops now, he absolutely loves it. And in Cops Corner, you don't have to lift as much from previous games. In this game, you can actually go flat out in some of the F1 2020 cars. So that's what Caden Forbes has done, as he just invalidated there, going through the complex of Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. So I wonder what it would have been, the lap time would have been for Caden Forbes if he didn't mess up there. It would have been really, really good. So he will have to go out again, and I'm assuming he's going to go into the pits. And I'm strongly suggesting that people are going to the pits after they validate it may think that it's probably going to be a dry race, because they don't want to be on no sauce for more than 2 laps old, I've got to say, in this race. And Luca is on another lap as well. He's going out very, very early again. 9 minutes left to go, but you only have 3 soft tyres to use in qualifying, both in the balance and in the hard section, so, and 1 medium. So they only have a chance to go for pole pretty much 3 times, unless you want to go for a medium run, which is a little bit too risky, I've got to say. But yeah, Luca, I think, was a bit gutted that the likes of Will got his penalty removed from last week, but he's probably going to use it and think, you know what, I got a podium on track last week, I think I'm going to get it this week, and he's doing very well in second. The usual protagonist, Mitchie in 13th for 1:24.2, so he hasn't gotten off the mark yet as well. I just want to see where let's see where Lee is at the moment. He's going through just past Brooklands now, and his lap is looking tidy so far. So yeah, he hasn't got that long left to go really of his lap. Speedster's also on the lap 2, not that far behind lead 2, and Caden Forbes in the pit. Any surprises do you think we'll see in this session, Dan?
Well, just from the way that he's going at the moment, I think Luca is definitely a strong contender for pole position. He's just coming through the third sector, finishing up his lap right now. He's got a McLaren of either Fabi or Hadler in front of him, but that's not going to let him phase. He's not going to be phased by that as he crossed the line. What can he do? He lost quite a bit of time in that last sector. He was 500ths up. That would have put him ahead. And there's Mish going to the top. He said he wasn't off the mark. Well, I think that is off the mark now. He goes to the top, and there's Kazooie going to the top. So they're all pinning those laps down, getting them nice and tidy. Manolo VF crossing the line right now. What can he do in that Red Bull car? He is unfortunately going to stay in 17th position. Lee Finley comes back into the pit lane, so he's aborted that lap, but I believe Speedster is finishing up his at the moment, the high-flying American driver. He was in a crash last week. What can he do in this session? He goes 5th fastest with a 124 flat. The time sheets really are beginning to come down.
Yep, they are. For some of these guys, they've been using a no line for the very first time last week, like Luca, of course, and Greeny as well. Had to getting used to no line again. Tomato as well. And speaking of Tomato, he's just beating Kazooie's time and says, you know what? If anything you could do, I could do better. He's on pole with a 123.8, but we haven't seen the best of these drivers yet. We know that the 124.5s is possible for some of these drivers if they could put a good lap together towards the end, but for some drivers they may have put more fuel on their early runs, and that's why their times are a bit slower at the moment, or maybe they're just getting used to the track at the moment. But don't forget, the track will be at its most grippiest for around about 3 minutes, 2 minutes left to go, and that will be the calm before the storm. But I have to say, Kazooie definitely impressed me so far in qualifying in P2. He didn't get any points last week, was very, very unlucky, but you know, he had a big jump from F4 last season. He was the F4 champion actually, all the way up into F2. So it's a bit of it's a bit difficult for him as of late. But to be honest, I think he's going to be happy with that result so far, being in the 123s early on. But let's see if he can find some time later on in the session, just like the other drivers are. As a few drivers are finishing off their laps as well.
Yeah, it was Petrux just crossed the line. I want to comment on Kazooie. He had a really, really bad, his luck was just terrible last race. He was involved in a crash with Petrux. That saw Petrux out of the race completely, and then I believe he disconnected. He was certainly on for points. He was running in the top 10. So, yeah, he definitely has the potential to be a contender for points in this championship. I just want to mention one driver finishing up a lap at the moment. He's managed to get past the S's section of Maggots and Beckett. It's Caden Forbes, and he's looking quite strong at the moment as he almost runs wide, just a little bit too much there, but he has managed to keep it on the circuit. This looks like a nice and tidy lap from Caden. Could definitely see him in the upper reaches of the top 10. Where's he going to go? Caden Forbes goes 5th position, displaces Ballina. That's a 1:23.8. That is a really nice time, not too far off of his NWS comrade of Mish as well, so those two going to be happy with their performance so far.
I think they will be. I think Caden Forbes was actually fastest in the sector 3 as well, so probably maybe the game throwing fit, or it might just be Caden Forbes actually is faster in sector 3, which is great to see as well. So the top 19 separated by 0.8 per second, and I think these guys can go even quicker. Petrox being in second place as well. Again, he didn't have a good result last week, and he's only 10 thousandths slower than Tomato, so I think he'll be pretty happy with that as well. As we got Lee on his lap, hopefully he could do a lot better this lap than he's done previously, and he aborted I think 2 of his runs, so this could be one of 2 opportunities for him to get a lap in, really, to be honest. And maybe him winning last week may have not been winning this week, but you never know. He wasn't quite confident with Britain, to be honest, to start with at the week, but he was getting more confident as the week goes on. As he was practicing, he was setting some very good lap times, but penalties may come back to bite him if he keeps doing that. He's managing the purple sector 2 all right. He didn't get invalidated there. He's heading towards Stone now, and I think his lap is gone quicker. I think he'll be happy with that unless he aborts, which I hope he does, and he's running out of fuel. And he just invalidated, goes into the pits, but luckily I think he has time for one more. But I think that could have been, I would have said, probably pole, or even probably behind his teammate. But yeah, that was, I think, 3 out of 3 invalidations from our race winner of last week. That is a shame.
Yeah, and one thing that is also going to bite him is that this is not a track where you can do the alternate strategy really easily. The infamous alt strat where you start on a different set of tyres to the top 10, then utilise their set of tyres at the end of the race when you're lighter on fuel. That's not really viable around here, so it's not going to be powerful for him to be starting at the back. You definitely want to be starting within the upper reaches of the top 10, you know, where Tomato is. Of course, you want to be on pole to be in front of everyone else, but if Lee Finley can't hook up a lap together, that is pretty much going to put him on the back foot for this Grand Prix. We've got some guys coming out of the pit lane to do their final runs, it seems. They've only got 3 minutes left in the session. That's enough for an out lap and 1 push lap, and then you're probably done. Ballina will be the first one to commit to that. He is just in the at the beginning of the 3rd sector now, coming out of Chapel. He is one of the quicker drivers in this division, and he has been mentioned as a possible championship contender before the season started. I definitely think that Ballina can get a good result here. He had a bad race last week in Australia, so hopefully he's going to want to rectify that one and put in a good lap here to really carve his mark.
Yeah, definitely. It was gutting to see, you know, he was looking very strong in practice last week and he just couldn't get the lap together in the race, and he was involved in a very few incidents as well. But looking at where he is now, he's probably going to be in a little bit of trouble in 7 because he's right near the middle of the pack. But only time will tell, you know, there could be some other people making mistakes as well. And we're just seeing Tomato, Petrox, Kazooie, Mish, Caden Forbes very, very close already, just by under a tenth, a separating between the top 5, so anything can happen. But we haven't seen maybe what Will could do. Will is probably known for the alternate strategy. It's probably not going to work here, so he needs to climb his way up the grid if he wants to set his possible lap time. As Benjamin has retired from the session, unfortunately, so he can't get any higher than a P6 with just 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go of the session. Still lap times to be improved. Still not where we are predicting it's going to be. At 1:23.6 was the pole position lap time in F2 last season. I wonder if we get closer to that tonight. We will probably get into the 1 minute 23.4s in F1 almost certainly, but it's going to be a shot in the dark if they can get into the 1:23.5s, to be honest. Luke is about to start his lap. Literally everyone is going out on their laps now. You can see a whole train of cars going towards the final sector. That is going to be costly if you're near the back, but luckily they got a minute to go anyway, so they got a bit of a time to spread across the track. We've got some people that are in a sandwich, I've got to say. We've got, I think, a Haas car that's struggling to keep up with the, I think it's the Alpha and the McLaren as well. So that's going to be very, very tight towards the end there. So if you got clean air, it's probably going to help you a lot better. And for Lee's sake, hopefully he can get a lap together, because everyone else managed to get one. As Handler is slowing down as he's warming his tyres up, he's going to have the benefit of clear air as well. And yeah, most people on their final runs now. I'm just going to see who's going to be the first to cross the line pretty soon. But yeah, it is crunch time for all these drivers. The top 18 separating by 0.4 of a second, Dan.
Oh, I've just watched Manolo go off at, I believe that is Chapel there. Ooh. He's got wing damage as well. That is his qualifying pretty much over. Someone's just jumped someone. I believe that is Midnight going into 8th position. Greeny's also finished up in this qualifying session. I believe the last person who managed to get across the line is Hadler. He's going to have the grippiest out of anyone in terms of the circuit levels. So he is going to be in a really good position. There's Table Clan spinning out as well. Everyone's having issues at that Chapel section. And now Table Clan, he can't improve on that lap. We got Simo just finishing up a run at the moment. He is almost a 10th up. Petrox retires from the session somewhere on track. I don't know where he is, but his teammate Simo's about to cross the line. What can he do? There's Lee Finley with a 1:23.6, and there's Simo going into 14th position. The times are really falling, Jess.
They are starting to fall at the moment. I do see an Alfa Romeo coming across the line as well, which is Name Changer, the one that's been promoted up. Can he get in the top 10? Oh my goodness, that was a bit of a swerve there. He was come across the line in P15. And we also got Haller, who's going to be the last person to cross the line. We've got a few more people finishing off their laps once again, even though they've been on 1 lap old soft tyres. But I'm guessing they're being a little bit more confident, I've got to say, as Manolo has retired as well. But Hadler, can he dispose of Lee Finley to get on pole position? We'll have to wait and see. No, but that puts him in P14. Still very, very good lap from him, but that was very, very lucky from Lee, I've got to say. He invalidated every single one of his laps, apart from the lap that counted, and that was pole position.
Yeah, well, the only lap that really matters is your fastest one, so he can throw all the other ones in the bin for all he cares. He is on pole position here in Britain. He is really stating his claim to this F2 season. Fabi, not a million miles off him, though. He's only about 700s back from him. Ballina finally can hook up a good qualifying session. He takes third position. That's the top 3 for the British Grand Prix, and I'll tell you what, I am really, really excited to see what they do here today.
The F2 race was pretty much crazy last season, and I really enjoyed that. So I think I'm going to hopefully enjoy it this season as well. And the gap between first and 18th, well, 19th really, is about 5/10 per second. Probably the closest qualifying I've seen in a while. But let's go through your results before the timer goes down. So Lee Finlay takes pole position, his first of the season. Fabi in second, Ballina in third, Tomato showing his form of late in fourth position, Petrox in 5, Speeds with a good qualifying in 6th, so is Kazui in 7th, Mitch in 8th position, Caden 4th in 9th, Benjamin in 10th, then we've got Greeny, Midnight, Luca, Hadler, Simo, Name Changer, Will, Table Clan, CC Brain and Monona making up your ones that have free choice of tyres come the race should it be dry, of course, which we don't know what is going to happen there. But yeah, looking at the strategy, if it's going to be dry, it looks like it's going to be a one-stop, and you won't be able to see it, but looking back at our commentary box window, no rain is in sight, so yeah, it is going to be a one-stop race. Soft to mediums or mediums to soft, I think, Dan.
Yeah, definitely going to be in that range. You're not really going to see the hards around this circuit, but if someone does get damaged, it is certainly viable. You won't be the quickest, but it is probably your best option. They're all just going to be adjusting their strategies right now, probably changing their fuel loads as well, because the F1 game likes to overfuel you just a little bit, so you have some reserves to use in the race. And they're also going to be communicating with their teammates at this point, probably, if they're in a party together, because they're going to be working out who is going to pit at what time, and how are they going to work things out in the race, because of course they can work together in this session, unlike in qualifying where they can't actually they can't use slipstream at all between each other, so they can finally get that kind of teammate vibe that they can do. They have been longing for, I guess, that they haven't achieved in qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. And we're just waiting, I think, for all the drivers to ready up. It's taken a while for these guys to ready up, so hopefully they'll be readying up soon. But yeah, the alternate strategy is going to be a bit difficult. We did see, I think, in Spain as well last season, Rafa making the alternate strategy work as well. I can't remember the exact results of the British Grand Prix last season, apart from the top 3. So Rafa won it with Greeny in second and his teammate Tomato in third. So to be honest, I'm not really that surprised that Tomato was up there high in qualifying, because he must like this track as well as the likes of the other drivers. But for Greeny, obviously he's using no line now. His lap was set using line last season, so he was looking a little bit less comfortable in the race. So here we go then. We're about to get started in qualifying. So I don't know why the lap time was showing up on my screen now. I think it'll probably go away towards the end there. But let's just see what tyre choices people outside the top 10 will be going for. And oh, that's interesting. Everybody except Midnight going for the soft tyres. So I'm guessing Midnight wants to make up positions very, very quickly. Gamble strategy, I would say, for Midnight, but I think if it works for him, it could pay off in the long run. But yeah, Greeny, Luca, Hadler, Simo, Name Changer, Will, Table Clan, CC Brain and Manolo on the mediums. Everybody else is on the soft compound tyres, and there's predicted stop strategy on your screen. But I'm sure the drivers will be going into the pits a lot earlier than what the game thinks. So yeah, it should be interesting. I'll ask her early this time, so it gives you a chance to think about it. Who is your shot for the win of this race?
I think it's going to be 2 for 2 for Lee Finlay, so I think he's going to take the win today. I'm going to say that Speedster will get second position. Don't ask me why. And then I always like to have someone coming up through the field a little bit. So I'm going to go with Hadler. I think Hadler's got a lot of pace, of course, but he wasn't able to replicate that in qualifying. Might have made a mistake. So I definitely think he could be one to get up the order. But of course, my prediction's probably going to be wrong because I'm not the best. I really just guess at them most of the time, but definitely think that my most solid one there is Lee Finley, going to take the second win of the race of the season.
Oh, it's a tough one because we've got the likes of Balliner as well that's very hungry for a win, but I think I'm going to say Lee's going to take the win. Make it 2 for 2 as well. Probably just jinxed him now, but oh well. Balliner, I think, is going to take P2. I think he's looking quite comfortable around this track, and I'm going to go for bold one as well. I'm going to go for Kazooie in P3. He was showing signs of confidence in qualifying, and I think he's going to take it. So we've both gone for bold predictions for P3. Let's see which one of us is right. Let's see if either of us are right come the end of the race. So we're about to get started with 26 laps worth of action. We've got Lee on pole, Fabi running alongside him, and we got an AlphaTauri of Balliner and Tomato in the third and fourth row. We are about to get started with qualifying as the lights are coming on. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And we are underway in Silverstone. It looks like a pretty decent start, especially from the McLaren drive. Also a very good start from Lee as they both go through turn 1. Lee tries to cover off the inside, and he does that with ease. Balliner also having a good start from Tomato as well. Let's see if they all make it through the infamous turn 3 as someone has gone off. I think that's a Ferrari of Caden Forbes that's gone off. Or it might be another one. The timings has gone to FOF at the moment. But yeah, we've got Kazooie also making a position up on the start, getting past Mitchie up into P6. Balliner not getting the starts that I would have hoped at the start of the race, but there's only 26 laps. There's still a lot to improve on, and we got Mitchie been losing positions left, right and centre. Speedster has gone up into 7th position. Benjamin's also got up into 10th position, and Greeny has dropped back into 12th. Haller up into 11th, 1 place off the points, and you can see 2 cars going side by side, and there's Luca that's gone off our podium sitter from last week, well P4 from last week. His race has gone to ruins right now, and he's gone to the back of the grid. From apart from that, a pretty clean start from most people.
Yeah, I watched that on board with Luke. He was trying to go up the inside of Greeny. It was a move that was never really going to work for him, and unfortunately that is pretty much his race in tatters now. But everyone else aside from that moment there has gone through cleanly. There's Manolo making up position on Caden Forbes. He was the Ferrari driver to go off at the beginning. He is now going to come into the pit lane. He might have a bit of damage. Simo is also coming in. I wonder what happened to him. I believe someone's actually just sped in the pit lane if I'm not mistaken. Kazooie is losing positions, or is that no, it's just a timing glitch for me. Do apologise with that one. Lap number 2 does begin, and we got 3 drivers in the pits right now.
Yeah, and I do believe that's for damage, unfortunately. I had a feeling the Ferrari that spun off was Caden Forbes, so that was why he's gone off. And Simo, yeah, he had damage in that one as well. So very unfortunate if you're on the alternate strategy, but for the hard tyres, they can go pretty much until the end of this Grand Prix. It could last up to 25 laps, so yeah, it could probably definitely get there. So, you know, they probably are going to hope that other people make a mistake so they can climb up towards up there as well. So their race is not over in that front for Caden Forbes and Luca, but Lee Finley still leading by 5/10 of a second over Fabi in second place. Fabi having a better start than last week, I've got to say, which is good news. Fabi didn't have a good result last week either. Has got another battle for position speed, so it's absolutely flying in that Ferrari. He's up into 8th place. He must be loving this track. Don't forget, this is not his home track. A lot of people, it is their home track. But Speedster must have travelled a long way to get here tonight, and he is not that far from the car in front, which is Kazooie too. So, yeah, a lot of dark horses doing very, very well in this race, where your dark horse, Dan, doing very well in up in 7th.
Absolutely. Of course, I know Harrison quite well, and he's a very committed driver, but he's definitely got a chance here today to do well, as I believe all of the deltas have finally fixed themselves, because they were looking a little bit glitched. It said Midnight was 7/10 back from Mish, but he was right up behind him. Now that has fixed itself, corrected it to 2/10 of a second.
Sorry, Dan, we've got a move between Petrox with Balliner going side by side there. Petrox could get P4. Balliner was trying to hold on to P4 for so long and try and get P3, but he may lose another position due to it. Petrox trying to go down to the left-hand side into Brooklands and into Luffield, and looks like Petrox has got the move done, but Balliner is under pressure from Kazooie then going into Woodcote, and Kazooie almost had that move done, but he's looking very, very good, heading towards Copse Corner in a second as well, but it's really hard to overtake around Copse. So So maybe try heading into Stowe would be the best option for Kazooie. But Bannon, not a good start so far, but it could have been a much worse situation. But Petrox definitely doing very well and proving us wrong, I've got to say, from last week, I've got to say. And don't forget, Haas has got no point in this Constructors fight so far this season, even though it's one race. Every single team has scored points apart from them. So this could be a very good chance for Haas to climb up the championship order already. I can see, I think, a Racing Point fighting, well, Midnight fighting with his teammate Mish. So that could be interesting. Let's hope he doesn't turn to Ocon and Perez from Spa 20, I think it's 2018, I can't remember. But yeah, it was 2018 where they had that collision together. Let's hope these two don't ever collide in Silverstone. But Mish is looking good heading towards into turn 3. Almost had the run on Speedster there, heading into just before the Wellington straight, but unfortunately couldn't quite do it. But Midnight is on the pace as well, so it's good to have teammates on similar pace because they can help you hold up the rest of the field and can get you on the right strategy as well. But yeah, Mish stayed in 8th position, but Speedster stayed in 7th. Because of that battle, Speedster's dropped I think a few tenths off of Kazooie right now, as Manolo has made up another position on the grid. He's up into P16, so Manolo started last place. He's having a good race so far, I think, Dan.
Yeah, he found himself now up in 16th position. Greeny probably not too happy. He's a bit frustrated at the moment after the contact with Luca, and he's probably angry just at the Red Bull team in general. But now we're starting to see a DRS train forming at the moment, as Mish is looking really good onto the back of Speedster at the moment. Speedster seemingly struggling through the Maggots and Beckett section. He's going to try and go to the outside. Speedster has to defend to the inside. Now they're going to run side by side, wheel to wheel, coming down the straightaway into Stowe corner. Speedster just hangs on to Mish, but has he got the better run out the corner? Speedster has to go wide, as what can Mish do? Speedster once again going defensive. This is going to invite Midnight into the fight, so they're still all battling coming out of club corner now. It looks like Mish has had a little bit of an off, and he's almost gone off, and there's he's around. Mish is off the circuit. He spun around after contact with his teammate there, and that is really going to put a sour taste in his mouth.
I think, unfortunately, that was commentator's curse from me. I said that I hoped that the two teammates didn't collide, and they did, unfortunately. And I think he had a good race last week, but unfortunately he's not going to have a good race this week. And his teammate's not doing any better. Midnight spun as well, heading towards, I think, turn 4. So, yeah, the Racing Point team, their night's just gone from bad to worse, just like the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Greeny, I think, is trying to make up for lost time, as he is doing well on his mediums, up into 15th position. But we haven't talked about the gap at the front too much, Dan. 0.4 of a second separating between Lee and Fabi. Both of them doing a good job as well. Tomato still within that DRS train as well, but I don't think Tomato's going to get past either of them, because Fabi also has the DRS too. I'm just trying to see who's going to be the closest to get about. I think potentially Name Changer is looking good behind his teammate Table Clan. Name Changer doing not too bad in a 12th position. This is his first wave back in F2 after being promoted this week, to be fair, and he's not doing too bad, but surely he wanted to do a lot better. Name Changer actually being one of the qualifiers for the Challenger Series starting next week. We'd like to wish him the best of luck for that, as for a few other drivers in his tier as well. I think Simo being one of them as well. So them getting, I think, good practice for them as well. But Name Changer, I think, getting some slipstream from his teammate is going to help keeping CT Brain behind, that's for sure.
Absolutely back at the front. It looks like Lee Finley is beginning to feel the pressure from Fabi at the moment. Fabi's got plenty of ERS to attack Lee Finley with. He looks like he's not going to be close enough this time by, but he's certainly got lots of reserves just in that tank to really launch an attack, probably right before the pit stop phase. They are getting to the point where they are going to be starting to feel the tyres a little bit. Lap number 6, they can definitely go a couple of laps more, but he'll want to be ahead coming to the pit stop phase when they go onto the medium tyres. Looks like Benjamin's found a bit of time on Speedster after he was losing time in all that fighting with Midnight and Mish, who are now right down the order. Mish in the pit lane. He's going to come out on a set of mediums. An early pit stop for him, but of course, what more can you do when you're outside of the points, as Speedster's just got that right at the end of it. He is right at the end of the DRS of Kazooie, but he has managed to just cop that from him. But that might not stop Benjamin, because here he comes. He's got the run on the American driver, the Alpha Tauri, going down the inside of the Ferrari car of Speedster, and that was the move made for Benjamin. He's up into 7th, and speedster finds himself moving down into 8th position. Benjamin really impressing me so far in the championship.
Yeah, he definitely is as well. Don't forget, he's only 15 years of age and this is his first season in PSGL and he just set the fastest lap to go with it so far in this race. 1:27.3. That is pretty good. Not that far off where we would expect to be at this stage of the race, and if he can improve on his consistency, then he could probably get up there and try to close up to Kazooie as well. I've got to say, Benjamin was impressing me as well in the Trobo series as well, so he is learning with his Trobo teammates basically every day, to be honest, and the more they on the same track as him, the more the quicker drivers on the same track as him, the more he's definitely going to get better. I won't be surprised, even if it's either next season, the season after, or the season after that, or even more seasons to come if we will see Benjamin in F1 as Caden Forbes has retired from the session. I think he's given up, I think, Dan.
And that's really a shame to see Caden Forbes getting involved in a lap 1 incident somewhere at the first sector. And yeah, he has just given up. He's retired in the pit lane. You can see he's also sped into the pits, and he leaves the session now. 0 points for Ferrari because, of course, reserve drivers do not score points. But Fabi using up a little bit more of his DRS to catch up to Lee. He wants to pressurise the Scotsman, as hopefully these guys don't get held up at all by Caden Forbes' AI, of course. But yeah, it should be ghosted, so it should be out of the way. There's Ballina, the first one to blink. He comes into the pit lane on lap number 7 as they all begin lap number 8 in this Grand Prix. I definitely think they are going to start to think about their pit stops, and Ballina just trying to get the jump on everyone with that undercut. He'll be struggling towards the end of the race, but at the start he will be absolutely rapid.
I think it's a bit earlier for Ballina to pit, but we have seen people pit around about this time before in other tiers and make it work because they've done a lot of fuel saving and stuff. So Ballina, this could be a smart move for him where he is, but he's got to get past traffic at the moment. So hopefully he's going to get into some clean air so that can help him with his outlap to try and get ahead of the likes of Lee, Fabi and Tomato as well. And in 3rd and 2nd place and 1st, because the battle for the lead is still closing up every lap as well. So I won't be surprised if one of those two, or even all 3 of them, go into the pit lane. So Ballina comes out, a pretty clean pit stop from him as well, and he's having a pretty clean race so far as well. And the gap between the lead is closed up dramatically. Fabi now for 3 tenths behind Lee. Tomato's got a 3-second time penalty added to his lap time at the end of the race. Not many penalties so far, but Fabi's getting a good run heading towards Stowe, but I think Lee's going to just about close the door into Stowe at the moment, unless Fabi launches an attack heading into Vale Corner. But Fabi, I think, decides that he wants to get the undercut on him and goes into the pit. Same for Tomato as well, whereas Petrox and is the other person that has stayed out. This may come back to bite these two at the end, but I think Fabi, due to that undercut, is probably going to go out ahead of Lee, but you never know, anything can happen in Formula 1. A lot of drivers from the soft compounded tyres are going into the pits now on the mediums. It is what we have been expecting in terms of the data, so those tyres will make it until the end of this race. Luca getting a 3-second time penalty. Luckily, the AI in the pit release, luckily they don't get held up as much when they come out. So unlike real F1, Carlos Sainz actually slowed down pretty much to try and get a double stat with his teammate, obviously. But luckily, it doesn't happen here on this game right now. So the only 2 soft runners still yet to pit are our race leader and Petrox. Lee has got to get a good in-lap if he wants to go ahead of Fabi. I think it's going to be very, very close. You do lose about 30 seconds in the pit stop phases when you go into the pit. So he's got to make sure he pulls out as possibly can. But Petrox has got to do the same. Haller is going to be your race leader. Well, once both of these guys go into the pits, the race leader on the alternate strategy. And he's doing very, very well indeed in the McLaren as well. But he's still got Will challenging him for position as well as the 2 Alfa Romeos and CC Brain also. But apart from that, everybody else has made their stops. And speaking of Lee, he goes into the pits. Petro's into the pits as well. Luckily, no speeding penalties for either of them, so good news for them.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at Ballina. He managed to close right up to the back of Fabi, and that was just a 1-lap undercut that he got, even though he was a little bit further back. So Lee Finley and Petrox could definitely be in a bit of a vulnerable position. All the drivers who have already pitted are just coming through Stowe corner now. Hopefully they don't extend like you could have done on the last game. You can see Lee Finley and Petrox now leaving their pit box. It's a 30-second pit time here. I think they might be just side by side. Tomato leading this race if he does come out, of course, in the net. But there it is, Lee Finley coming out just ahead of Tomato, and it looks like it hasn't been too costly for the race leader to have that one lap overcut, so to say. But warmer tyres on board the Welshman on Cameron, of course. Shazoo Tomato, last season's champion. He'll be taking it to Lee Finley, saying, you know what, I want to defend my title. Here he is on the straightaway. He's not going to use any of his overtake, trying to just conserve the time for a bit. You don't have to fight until right at the end. You can't win the race on lap number 10. That is really crucial to think about, and I think a lot of these guys are going to have that mentality. If the opportunity is right there, then of course they are going to try for the overtake, but I wouldn't expect to see anything rash for the next number of laps. Once these tyres are still in their peak phase, they just want to go as fast as they can at the moment. Speaking of which though, Tomato is still closing right up to the back of Lee Finley through Magus and Beckes. He just seems to have that confidence on the medium tyres. He's got a bad run through Chapel though, and he's lost a lot of time to the Scotsman. He's going to now use his overtake and DRS on the straightaway. He can sense an overtake. He can smell blood in the water. Here he is looking to the inside at Stowe Corner. He's going to go side by side, wheel to wheel with Lee Finley. Who's going to get the move on exit? It's still Lee Finley trying to hang on in there, but I believe that is it. Into the Vale chicane. Tomato is your net race leader. He gets the move on Lee Finley, who moves into second, and they've got Fabi just chilling behind them in 10th position right now. Net P3. This is going to get spicy soon as Speedster sets the fastest lap of the race. He's not out this race still.
Yep, indeed. Tomato, a really nice move as well. And I think what helped Tomato was definitely those warmer tyres compared to Lee. He had an extra lap. Tomato did to actually get them up to temperature, whereas Lee was on colder tyres as well. And I've got to say, Fabi also did the same thing on Petrox, who got past him as well. So I think I just got to say, pitting a lap later may have been not too bad for Lee and Petrox, but it's probably very, very costly right now, as most of the guys that have done the undercuts probably got past them as well. But don't forget, Tomato's also got that 3-second time penalty, so Tomato's still got to pull that gap between himself and Lee Finley if he wants to win this race. That was how the race was won last week, with Lee getting less penalties than Mish, and that's what helped him secure that win. So, you know, Tomato's going to help the likes of Lee and Fabi get those time penalties for him to stand a chance, but he's already pulling away from the likes of Lee and Fabi, so he's doing very, very well so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee beginning to struggle a little bit, it seems, even though he's only run about one lap on these tyres. He's got Fabi for company right behind him. He was about under a tenth behind him at one point. He had a bad run through Chapel though, so that was pretty much that overtake nullified by him there. But Lee Finley really does have to get these tyres up to temperature, like Fabi, like Tomato have done so far. Petrox still is in this fight at the moment. He's sitting in a net P4 in 11th position on track at the moment. He has been pressurising Fabi as well, so they're all looking really fast behind that Williams car. But he's just a bit of a brick wall at the moment, Tomato. I think he's just got that little bit of extra pace per lap to stay ahead of them. I'm more concerned about the medium runners at the moment, when they're going to come into the pits. Of course, they started the race on this tyre, and I don't know about you, but it's looking like it's a little bit overcast up ahead. It looks like the sun is going to go into hiding because we've got some grey clouds in sight. I wonder if that could spell some rain towards the end of the race.
I wonder if it could, because it's not surprising if it happens, because it is Silverstone after all. It is the typical British weather. It always likes to throw a spanner in the works, so just watch out for that. But I think these drivers are going to hope that they don't have to suffer from the wet weather, as Speedster has got a 3-second time penalty as well. Good job to the majority of people for keeping it clean, but Petrox is getting his tyres up to temperature a little bit more, as he's found the gap a bit between himself and Fabi for 10th position on track, and it's a net P5, well, a net P4 actually on track. My math was completely wrong there, and I think Lee is caught up to the back of Tomato as well, as Fabi trying to close the door on Petrox quite nicely there as well. Fabi with some very, very good defending. Don't forget, Fabi was in F1 last season, and he's probably using this as motivation that he wants to win the F2 title as well, so he can get back to F1. There's still some contenders that we are still seeing emerge in this race. Don't think that all the contenders were for the Australia race. We're seeing a lot more contenders in this race. Fabi looking very good on Lee Finley, heading towards turn 4. Oh my goodness, this battle for the win is going to go down to the very, very end. And if I was Tomato, I'm going to hope that I can pull up that gap very, very quickly, as everybody else behind him is definitely want to challenge for the win. And it's not over until the checkered flag falls, and I think I can see this battle go right until the very end, Dan.
Absolutely, Tomato will probably be happy that they're all beginning to just get into tiny little squabbles here and there, just letting each other know that they are present and they will go for an overtake if they're not going quick enough. He'll probably be quite happy about that, because if they begin to battle, then it will get quite hairy. Meanwhile, up at the front, of course, these guys haven't pitted yet. Hadler has lost the position to Will. He is now the leading medium runner who started on that set of tyres. So if it does come to the point of rain, Will be in a really good position. Sorry for that one. I said Will, but Will is going to be in a really good position. Lee Finley finds a way past Tomato. I'm sorry I didn't quite catch that there, but now Lee Finley's back up in front. He's in the net race lead at the moment, provided everyone else does come into the pits at some point, as Fabi's just watching behind. He's trying to get involved, but he just can't go there. As Martin Brundle would say, he's a day late, dollar short.
Yep, I think that DRS train is not helping some of these drivers out, and I think that's what helped Lee out, because Tomato was not in the DRS. So I won't be surprised if Tomato goes for a move once again. They're just all so tightly together between Lee and the Ferrari driver of Speedster. Don't forget, Speeders could be in this as well. Everybody else, I think, a little bit further behind the two Racing Points, Midnight and Mishi. The only ones on the medium tyres that have pitted are not in this battle, unfortunately, as well as Simo and Luca on the hard compound tyres. And yeah, it is starting to get darker actually as well, a lot darker than expected, so it could favour the medium runners more than the ones that started on the softs, but we'll have to wait and see as the session goes on. Maybe the medium runners will be trying to make use of those mediums as much as they possibly can, and if the rain does come, they're going to hope it comes pretty much sooner rather than later, because otherwise their tyres are going to be pretty much dying as well. Meanwhile, Name Changer goes into the pit lane, as well as Table Clan, Hadler and Will, so it is to be expected. I think that is when the pit window for the mediums, around about lap 15 or so, was when they would start to pit. So there comes Will, our race leader, on track, comes into the pits. So is Hadler, Name Changer as well. They're all going onto the soft compounded tyres until the end of this race, as it stays like this. CC Brain is your race leader right now with Manolo in P2, but they're probably going to drop a little bit behind because most of their rivals have already pitted on the undercut strategy. And then in the next lap, we will see Lee actually be the race leader, or even Tomato if Tomato can get past Lee. But since it is very overcast, the medium tyres is going to be a lot harder to warm up, so they've got to be on their A game, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think that the fact that these guys have pitted at this point, it is probably going to be dry for the rest of the session. Now they have 4.3 seconds to the back of Speedster at the moment. Does Will. He will be his first victim, the Alt Strat Merchant, as Will is probably going to turn out to be at the moment. But Name Changer got held in the pit lane. He had to stack behind Table Clan. I don't know why he would do so, but unfortunately for him, he's now pretty much out of contention for any good position. He's got 2 racing points of Midnight and Mish in front of him, so it is going to be all about who can get up the order as quick as possible for these guys on the soft, because those tyres won't last forever, and they'll probably find that the mediums will get quicker towards the end of the race as CC Brain and Manolo come into the pit lane. Greeny is going to be the last one who started on the medium size. He'll be the final driver to come into the pit lane, presumably at the end of this lap. That will unleash Lee Finley into the lead of the Grand Prix. Tomato in second, then Fabi in third, who is feeling the pressure from Petrux at the moment. So you can't count anyone out in this one, especially those guys on the soft compounder tyres. They're going to be absolutely rapid at the moment.
Yeah, we've seen Will do that last week, that got that podium. You never know, we could see the alternate strategy work here. It hasn't worked in some other tiers in PSGL, but for some tiers it has. It's been quite of a mixed bag for the tiers this week, so I wonder if it's going to pay off for Will this week. Don't forget, Will has had 2 wins last season. He's looking to add to more of his PSGL F2 wins collection, and he's looking the favourite to do so, as he's 2.9 seconds behind Speedster. I'm going to look at the gap between 10th and the Lee Finley at the moment. It's around about 7 seconds, so it's not that impossible, really, to be honest. And the gap between Will and Green is about 14 seconds, and obviously Green is going to drop way down due to the pit stop being around 29 to 30 seconds down the line. We're pretty much touch halfway distance at this moment in time. We're on lap 16 of this race. Anything can happen. This race has gone by so quickly. So much has happened already since the start. Petrox is looking very good across Fabi into Stowe, but unfortunately Fabi closed the door yet again right now. Fabi wants to forget his woes from last week, which he's doing so magnificently at the moment. Fabi so far is going to be on course to be getting P2 in this race, providing he doesn't get any penalties. Same with Lee. If he doesn't get any more penalties, he could be on to win as well, unless Fabi or Petrox has anything to say about it as well. Table Climb setting the fast lap of the Grand Prix on those soft tyres. 126.8 as looks like Tomato's made a bit of a mistake there. This could be Fabi's chance.
Absolutely, he is closing on him on the Wellington straight, but he's just that little bit too far back. And of course, Tomato still has that DRS on Lee Finley up in front. They are all going to close up together, of course, with that DRS, and then they'll probably separate along the middle part of the circuit. Looking at Will, though, he has got a really good chance to make up some decent positions, and he's got some good pace at the moment, catching Speedster up in front of him. But of course, it is one thing to catch a driver, it's another to overtake. You do have to keep that in mind, and he's actually got Hadler for company as well. He has DRS on the back of Will, and Will has none of that. He has not got that luxury, so maybe Hadler could try and trade back the position that he lost a couple of laps ago when these guys hadn't pitted, and now he's on the soft tyres, he's raring to go. Can he make this move? He is going to tuck into second, uses overtake. Will is not even going to fight this. It was inevitable that Hadler was going to overtake him, so that is P10 for Hadler at the moment, and now it's a gap of 2.8 seconds. I reckon that Will's thinking and all of that was if we fight, we're going to burn out these tyres and we won't be able to catch up. I'm looking at the bigger picture here. I'll let you bite and then I'll catch you later on in the Grand Prix. That is a good mentality to have, as Petrox still pressurising the back of Fabi, who's dropped off the back of Tomato a little bit along that lap. CC Brain setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and they're all really coming up to pace at the moment. I think those soft tyres have all the temperature in the world at the moment, and those mediums are still in a good position. There's Benjamin making the move on Kazui.
Yeah, Kazui down in 8th place now due to that position. Ballina in 6th with his teammate Benjamin in 7th. I think the teamwork could work out very well for the AlphaTauri drivers at this point in time, because they're two very, very close on the circuit. Benjamin is setting the time to light on those medium tyres. Purple in sector 1. Hopefully it's not a glitch, but I've got to say, AlphaTauri could probably score some big points here in the constructors and try and close up to Renault, which is what they want to do as well. But I'm still watching the gap between Petrox and Fabi really start to come down. Lee must be loving this right now up in front, because he knows the likes of Petrox and Fabi are still fighting. So that's the only two drivers they've got to worry about due to Tomato's penalty. But we'll have to wait and see, of course, as Petrox almost looked like he was going to go for the run there heading into Stowe Corner. But again, that dirty air is definitely not helping him in there. But I'm starting to see the sun starting to come out once again. It wasn't as overcast as it was earlier on in the race. It's starting to get a lot lighter, a lot warmer in terms of track and air temperature. So that means more of a chance for people to really start to push towards the end of this race, which could be very, very intriguing for all the runners here, as Will sets fast lap of the Grand Prix. We thought it was holding back. He actually wasn't. He's in 10th place at the moment. Right now, 2.1 seconds behind Speedster, his next victim on the medium tyres.
I think that Will is going to be able to catch up to the back of Speedster and try and make the move. I'm trying not to say Will, but sometimes it's just a slip of the tongue, as you would say it. But he can probably catch Speedster, Kazui, and Benjamin. It'll be difficult for him to really get up into the upper reaches of the points. Speaking of which, I didn't even realise Greeny's still out on circuit at the moment. He hasn't pitted. He is really stretching these mediums right to the death of it. I think he's accepted that he's not going to have a good race in this one. He's probably not going to get points, so why not take points off of the other drivers, have the freshest tyres, lightest on fuel, and of course be on the grippiest track to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. That is quite smart thinking from Greeny. If all else fails, steal stuff from your opponents. That is a life lesson to be taught there. Petrox still right behind Fabi, but that DRS is really, really helping out Fabi here. So they're all a bit stagnant at the moment in terms of their positions. We've not seen an overtake for a number of laps at this point. I wonder that no Hadler did not get past Will on that lap. These guys have saved up their ERS quite well. Well, Hadler has. Will, not so much, as I didn't even realise Speedster has a penalty.
Yeah, Speedster did get a penalty, I think, a lap ago. So let's just have a quick rundown of the penalties, actually. We've got Greeny, that's your race leader, but not yet to pit on 3 seconds. Tomato on 6. So I don't know where he got that extra 3 seconds. I probably wasn't paying attention. That's going to probably jump him way down, which will be a bit of a shame. He's still going to get points nonetheless, I think. But Speedster's got 3 seconds. So has Name Changer, and so has Lucas. So well done to everybody else for not getting penalties right now. But I thought Tommaso just had 3 seconds. I thought it would still be game on for Tommaso to possibly get a top 3 or even a top 5 finish. But boy, was I wrong here. But Tomato's still running very, very well. Still getting used to the running no line. I think he's liking the pressure just being in F2. He's probably in less pressure being in F2 compared to F1. Not a lot of people won't be mindful of his mistakes if he does that. As someone as
A Speedster,
I think, has almost had a bit of an off there. I think he was 2 tenths behind Kazooie, but now he's around about a second. So he's gone out of DRS range, unfortunately. But you can see Tomato, I think, has really saved on the laps previous to this one, as Tomato had a bit of a lock up there, and Tomato has gained a little bit to Lee Finley at this stage. This is getting super close right now. I still don't know who's going to win this race. I think it's really down to the top. I think the top 6 of this race: Lee, Tomato, Fabi, Petrock, Ballina and Benjamin. I think Tomato will probably be thrown out of the equation due to her 6 seconds, and really 6 drivers will still be in this. But Tomato's having a very good run on Lee. If Tomato could get past Lee and get that clear air needed, then he could find that 6 second gap potentially win this race. But finding 6 seconds in a few laps could be impossible. So maybe Lee could let Tomato through with 1-2 laps to go, and then maybe he could still win this race anyway. He's got nothing to lose, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. You're a racer at the end of the day, Dan. You would want to win the race on track, wouldn't you?
yeah, and I think that is probably the mentality that Tomato has as well. You know what? I'm not going to get any decent position out of this. I've got 6 seconds worth of time penalties to lumber around. Why not try and take the fight to Lee, cause some issues for him, and probably put him in a bad position as he is doing so at the moment. He's really pressurising. Bad run through Magnus and Beckett says Speedster with another 3-second time penalty to his name. Here's Tomato though. He's got the DRS. He's not even going to need that much overtake, but Lee's still trying to hold this. He's going to have to defend to the inside. Is Tomato going to cruise around the outside? Don't tell me he will. He's just going to stick behind him. Maybe could have a run into the Vale chicane. Is he going to go for it? No. Lee Finley defends that really nicely, positions his car perfectly, managed to maintain that P1 in the net, but he has done so well. Tomato really applying the pressure now. He's going to put the pedal to the metal, as George would say.
Yeah, I've got to say, Tomato doing an excellent job right now, and all this battling is allowing Fabi to catch up to this battle as well. For Fabi to have a chance to win this race, if anything can happen. Tomato's closing up again. You can see Greeny LFC is holding up this battle a lot here, but here comes Tomato. Let's go on board with him as he tries to hold on into the Wellington Straight. Lee coming off yet again. I think I've got to say, take a bow, Lee, with his defensive skills at the moment, because it's incredible, and Tomato is doing well with his attacking skills. I've got to say, these drivers, apart from Tomato's penalty, have not put a foot wrong in this race. Tomato driving well, Lee driving well, as well as Fabi as well, not making any mistakes as well. Whoever wins this race, I think any of those drivers would deserve it as well, and Pedrox could be on for his best result as well, probably the biggest improvement as well, as they all come through the Chapel section of the Maggots and Beckett and Chapel complex. Then Tomato looking very racy once again as well. Lee's got to try and get past Greeny as well. It's going to be very tight heading towards Stowe Corner. A little bit of a love tap from both of these drivers, but how do these two keep it on the track? I don't know, but they've done it very well indeed. But both of them managing to get past Greeny LFC. So is Fabi as well. Petrox having a bit of a struggle compared to the other three. This may hinder his progress to potentially get a podium out of all this, which will probably put a smile on Tomato's face, I've got to say. And we're already on lap 23 out of 26 right now as Greeny. Oh, it's Petrox spun! Petrox has spun out of nowhere, and I think his mediums were having none of that. He's dropped all the way down into 11th place. My oh my, he was on for a podium and he's out of the points. That is just very cool to say the least, but that is racing, unfortunately.
Now further back behind, they're all beginning to catch up with these soft runners as Speedster's feeling the pressure. Kazooie's also getting quite pounced at the moment by Will. He is trying his hardest at the moment. He was gifted a position by Petrox spinning out there, but it is now crunch time for Will. His tyres are going to be on the edge a little bit. He's probably not utilised these to the best of his ability, but he's still going to try and fight it. Is he going to maybe go for Maggots Beckett? And that was quite smart for him to back off there. Speedster's still looking quite racy at the moment, even with all of those penalties. 9 seconds to his name. He's probably just got a warning there, and this could open the door for Will coming down the straightaway. Harrison's still going to just use some of that to overtake, and they're all getting racy up the front as well. And he's going crazy. There's Hadler around the outside. Oh my goodness me. I almost cannot handle this at the moment. Greeny still out on track. It is lap 23.
Oh,
has he done this entire race on this one
with...
set of mediums? I actually think he has.
Hadler spun with Speedster. I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, Hadler I think touched Speedster and he spun there as well. He was looking on course for another good result as well, and another driver fell by the wayside sadly, but Speedster somehow still managing to stay in P8 and trying to battle Kazooie for P7, but I think he's dropped off a little bit so far. But yeah, I've got to say, Will is looking racy as well, is looking racy towards the front as well. I don't know which battle to watch, but let's watch the battle for the soft runners for the time being. Here comes Will on Speedster. Is he going to get the move past Wellington straight into Brooklands? Easily does it. Goes the Williams driver up into P8 for now.
Greeny's around.
Kazooie is around as well. They must be struggling on those medium tyres, and that's going to be allowing Will to catch up as well. Will could be up into 6th place. He's a big fan of the alternate strategy. I had doubts that the alternate strategy could work around this track, but don't say that to Will. He's proving us wrong.
Yeah, he's got one more in front of him, and then he's got a pretty big gap ahead to Benjamin. So, yeah, it is Benjamin up in front of him. Kazooie really struggling at the moment. He had contact with Greeny LFC. Meanwhile, up at the front, Lee Finley, and there's Benjamin finding himself in 4th position. Benjamin's done so well again today.
Yeah, Benjamin doing absolutely fantastic this race, I've got to say, and hopefully he can keep up his good form. And he got P6 last week, scoring 5 points for AlphaTauri. He can get a much better result here as well. So we got a yellow flag as Petrox has spun again. Looks like, I can't remember what corner it is. It's just after Woodcut actually. So that is his race undone as well. But we still got the battle for the lead. Still happen. We've got Lee versus Tomato. Tomato doesn't even care he's got a penalty. He still wants to fight. Kazooie's got past Speedster as well. There's just so much happening on track on the last few laps. I think these drivers have been like, you know what, we're saving all of our element on the final laps, but they're putting so much risk into this Speedster, trying to get the move past the right hand side. He's going to get the better run, and he gets into P7. But look at this, Table Clan wants a piece of the action as well. CC Brain also having a piece of the action as well. CC Brain has had his teammate Greeny pitting for the soft tyres. Greeny is going to go for the fastest lap, that's for sure, to tell you the truth. But Table Clan almost had a bit of a scramble heading into Cops Corner, but Table Clan could be on for getting some good points here again, keeping it consistent as well. Don't forget, due to some people's penalty speed to get more penalties, so he could drop down the order. Table Clan just hits the back of Kazooie, but all those three going side by side. This could be free wide here. This is going to be free wide because CC Brain, Kazooie and Table Clan. Who's going to get the better run into Stowe Corner? It's going to be CC Brain or Table Clan. We'll have to find out. Table Clan goes to the left here, and CC Brain goes to the left. Sorry, I'm losing track of names there because there's so many battles. But CC Brain gets the run there, and he's up into 8, but the battle is far from over for any stretch of imagination. We'll watch that bar heading towards the end there, but it's for the final lap of this race, and still 4 cars battling for the win. And do you know what, Dan? There's one other car still in this mix as well for the win. Benjamin, he's in this fight as well.
Well, absolutely, he's in a podium position at the moment, and if these guys keep on fighting every single time they go into a corner, he is going to be in a position where he can take advantage of a mistake of anyone. But Lee Finley is defended really, really well off the back of Tomato. He's been putting the pressure onto him every single lap that has passed. He's done so well today, has the Scotsman to defend right now. Speedster's still trying to make a position up on Will. Both of these guys with penalties to their name. Will with only 3 seconds. What can be done though with the battle for the lead? It looks like Tomato he's not going to get it. I don't think he can. He's just too far back. Could invite Fabi into this as well. He knows that he's got penalties. Is he still going to try and go for it on circuit? I think that is the end of it, and Lee Finley's going to win this race.
Yep, well, he is heading towards the final corner now, heading into Vale and now heading towards Club. He's won in Australia and he's going to do the double. He's going to win 2 in a row. He wins the British Grand Prix. He wins his home Grand Prix. Drivers that dream to do that, and Lee has done that perfectly. Fabi gets P2 and Ballina gets P3. Overtook Benjamin on the final lap. I didn't see that happening. We got Tomato that's dropped down to 5th, Benjamin in 4th. CC Brain out of all of this. He's beaten Will, Table Clan, and Hadler, and he's up into 6th position. So well done to all these drivers. I think we're just waiting for Greeny LFC to cross the line, but wow, that was a pretty tense last couple of laps, I've got to say, for all drivers, in particular the ones on the soft tyres. But Lee's done it again, but this time, and it's not Mishi that's joining him in P2. It is Fabi after last week. It is redemption really for him, and he's done very, very well. And to be honest, Fabi has performed really, really well, kept it clean, no penalties. Same with Lee as well, and same with Ballina. Both of the drivers that did poorly last week are on the podium, and it's great to see. And driver of the day in the game has gone to CC Brain.
Well, that is win number 2 for Lee Finley. Fabi, after crashing out on the first lap of the race last week, he finds himself on the podium. Then Ballina, who's absolutely nowhere last week, he inserts himself into P3. What a podium that is. I'm not sure if either of us did predict that. Unfortunately, neither of our wild cards, so as you could say, did really come true.
I predicted Ballina for P2, so I was close, but I got 2 out of 3. So I've beaten you down, sorry.
I've got 1 out of 3 on that one. I predicted... who did I predict?
You predicted Lee for the win, and so did I. So at least we both got the winner. You predicted Speedster for P3, and I can't remember who I predicted for P3. Was it Kazooie? Yeah, it was probably Kazooie, but Kazooie was in 10th, so you still got a point. Anyway, so still no harm lost yet for him. So doing it again. The Scotsman wins yet again in P1. Fabi in 2nd, Ballina in 3rd. Benjamin with his best result in 4th place. He's going to jump, I think, both Hadler and Luca as well in the championship. Maybe Will as well. Tomato in 5th, CC Brain in 6th, Table Clan in 7th, Hadler in 8th, Will in 9th, and Kazooie in 10th. No points for fastest lap outside the top 10, as I believe Greeny got it on the last lap. Let's go through your other results with Midnight in 11th, Manalo in 12th, Speedster 13th, Name Changer 14th, Mitchie 15th, Petrock 16th, Simo in 17th, Greeny 18th, Luca in 19th, and your only non-finisher is Caden. Everybody else has made it through to the flag, and that is very, very impressive, I've got to say. I thought there was going to be a few more timers after the battles we've seen on the final few laps, but at least they kept it clean there.
Absolutely, as I'm quite sad it's over. That was really riveting to watch, but there's too many candidates for my personal driver of the day in this one. I guess I just got to give it to Lee. I don't know if you asked me or not in terms of the driver of the day. I was looking at the Twitter chat. They're not happy with each other, but yeah, the stewards are probably going to be busy looking at F2, I think, this week.
I think they're going to be busy in most tiers, because there was quite a lot of instance in the other tiers as well. So yeah, good luck to the stewards after tonight, I've got to say. So I think before we wrap up the stream, we're going to try and get the top 3 in for interviews. So I'm just going to go into our Twitter chat that we have now and invite Ballina, Lee and Fabi into this as well, because it'll be nice to hear their thoughts. So I'm just going to tag them now. I can't remember what Fabi's Twitter handle is as well, so I'll just mention them there as well. But yeah, I'm almost certain Lee will try and come in as well. So, but we got someone in already, but it's not the podium contenders. But if we can't get the podium contenders, we'll try and get someone on the alternate strategy in as well. So that'll be great to see. So I'll try and get Fabi, Lee, and Ballina for interviews, and we've got our race winner for the interviews, and I'll let you do it this week since you've done it since I done it last week. I thought it's only fair, but I'll drag Lee into the interview room as he's about to be interviewed for winning race number 2, but he's done it from pole this time, so let's drag him in. So I'll hand it over to you, Dan.
Good evening, Lee. Can you hear us? Oh, he's gone.
He did the same thing as last week. Let's see. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Lee?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay, good. That's great to see. I'll hand over to you, Dan.
Hello, Lee. Congratulations on your win today. I bet you're really pleased about that one.
Yeah, very very happy to get another win on the board. It was very intense, but happy to get the win.
Yeah, absolutely. You had to fight for that one as well. You were feeling the pressure from Tomato. Was there any doubt in your mind that you would actually take that win, even though he had the penalties? Did you think you would lose it on circuit because he was looking really racy behind you, or did you have that confidence where you could stay in front of him?
I wasn't very sure. Like I was trying to stay ahead of him because I wanted that buffer to Fabi, who didn't have any penalties, and I thought if I had that buffer, then I feel that would help. And Tomato was putting a lot of pressure on, but yeah, and it was really tough to try and save my ERS. But thankfully, in the final lap I had about half a bar to expend. So yeah, it was really wanting to stay ahead of Tomato.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that second win, do you think you could be a really strong contender for this championship? And who do you think is going to be your strongest rivals?
I think it's definitely helped. 2 out of 2 is exactly what I wanted, and yeah, my aim is to win the championship, and I believe I can do it, but just need to just take it race by race. And in terms of my nearest rival, it's tough to say because there's so many very fast drivers. Like you had Tomato, who was quick. Fabi was quick today. He had Mish, who was quick from Australia. And yeah, there's other lots of really fast. So yeah, there's quite a lot of them.
Yeah, I think it is too early to tell. But Jess, if you have any questions, then go ahead because I'm all out right now.
I've got one question, I think, to say. You're heading into the final race before the Christmas break in Belgium. You feeling slightly confident about trying to keep your consistency up at this point, or is this a track where you're going to work extra hard to try and keep up your podium form?
Yeah, well, confidence is high going into Belgium. Belgium, I actually won an AOR yesterday around there, so
yeah, I heard.
it's a track that I go well, but we'll be working on the setup and try and do the same again for like I did the first 2 races.
Yeah, indeed as well. And I'll just like to say, well done to you and best of luck going into next week there. And we'll try and get in our second place man, the one that was battling with you and Smart the whole of the race. Fabi, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant. Fabi, you must have put a really, really good fight up there for the win this week. You had a really poor race last week, you had a retirement this week. You were battling for the podium and you were putting up some, going all guns a-blazing. It must have been very, very tense for you going on to those final few laps there. Tell us, what was your thought process there?
What did you say at the end?
How tense was it during those last couple of laps when you were battling with the likes of Tomato and Lee?
Yeah, it was very intense because of Greeny. I don't know what was he doing because he was on a medium and tires, and I know that I have to be in front of him before Stowe. Yeah, and I was sweating so much, and yeah,
to be honest,
so stressful. I don't know what to say.
To be honest, I think it was great to see you up there near the front again after a horrible showing last week. It was just nice to see people going on a comeback as well. I mean, after last week, did you ever think you were going to be in shot of a podium today after last week's dire performance?
After the retirement,
yeah.
I was a bit disappointed because I know what I'm capable of and I know I can be in the top 5. And I think today is a good comeback and I show everyone that I'm a top driver, and GG to Lee Finlay for the win, second win, I think.
Yeah. It is his second win as well.
He drives superb.
So yeah, you were also very close with the undercut as well. But I'll ask the same question as I asked to Lee as well about Belgium going into next week. After this week's showing, is it giving you a lot more confidence that you're going to pull off a similar performance?
Yeah, I think after this good result is giving more motivation for Spa to be back on podium again, maybe.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well done for you. I think a lot of drivers and a lot of fans in the chat, I think, were very, very happy with your performance. So good job to you, Fabi, as well. And we've got, I don't think we have Ballina in the waiting room. So I think we're just going to get one more person. And that is the alternate strategy king, I've got to say, Mr. Will Murdoch. How you doing, Will? And
Hello.
hello. I wasn't really that surprised you going on to the alternate strategy like you did, and again you were fine with the likes of Speedster and all that towards the end on those soft tyres. Was it your plan all along to do the alternate strategy like last week?
To be honest, no. I didn't really know what to expect going into this race. I knew it would be close, but you know, if you make one mistake on your quali lap, it's the difference between being 5th and being 15th. So went on to the mediums, had a pretty good initial start, and then there was a humongous crash going into cops, and then somehow avoided damage, and then just tried to work with Hadler to try and keep with the soft runners, and then eventually when they pit, I thought I'd try and go past Hadler, which I did, and then pitted on the next lap, and then it was just really hard to catch up to the medium runners, just because of how powerful the DRS is around here. But Speedster made a huge mistake going through Maggots and Beckett's, and that cost him quite a bit of time, which sort of helped my race quite significantly. And then it all sort of kicked off towards the end. I think Kazuri got either yellow or orange wing damage from Greeny, and then Kazuri defended into Stowe, pushed me out wide, and then I got a warning for that, so I'm hoping that penalty can get removed.
Just like last week.
Which should put me P6, hopefully.
Yeah, I think we saw you got it removed last week, so maybe you can get it removed this week. We'll have to wait and see, of course. And going into Belgium this week, it's a track that obviously we know you did well in last season. You actually went on to win the race. Do you think you could win the race next week, or do you think you're you're going to be probably setting lower expectations than that?
Or I'm going to have to be very dependent on the weather.
Yes, definitely.
You saw last season that my wet weather pace was acceptable, to say the least. So I'm just going to have to hope for some more rain, which we haven't actually seen any so far this season, which is the complete opposite. Exactly. So I'm just hoping for at least a little bit of rain this season. I think my dry pace is actually quite good this season, which I'm quite surprised about because I'm not actually used to running line really, so running no line, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think most of the races we had last season, we've had rain pretty much for most of it, apart from a few towards the end. So, hopefully you could do the rain dance, I've got to say. Well, any final questions for you, Dan, before we wrap up?
Oh God, you put me on the spot there, Jess, because I've not really been thinking of any questions. But just off the top of my head, going into that last kind of couple of laps where everything started to kick off, what was your mentality and how were you really going to approach all of that chaos that was ensuing?
I just had to have the sort of correct mindset of being cautious, but also try and make up places where I could, and I felt like I had the correct balance between that, which just made me get past all of the carnage and sort of pull away, sort of. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, really well done today. I hope for the sake of your championship that you can have a really good race next week. Not next week, in a couple of weeks in Belgium.
Next week. Yeah, it is next week. The
Is
final.
it next
Is it
week?
next week?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it is next week. We'll go through that in a second. But yeah, that is the end of the British Grand Prix. But don't worry, there's still more British Grand Prix action with F1, F5 and F6 live now. So if you want to check all of those streams out, make sure you go onto the PlayStation GL channel and check those streams out. And I think F1 is just about coming to the end of the qualifying, or at the end of qualifying. And so I think we're going to be in for a good race on our hands. So F1 won't be racing next week, but F2 will most certainly be racing next week as we head to Belgium for the final race before the Christmas break. Thank you, Dan, for joining me as always.
Hey, it's brilliant to be here once again every Monday. Hopefully we can have a really good race next week.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week for the Belgian Grand Prix. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.